Hey guys, this is Matthew here. Today I'm talking about the latest game I beat, which would be Far Cry 6. And this is the 8th entry in the franchise, I think. Uh, Not including Blood Dragon, because I will consider that DLC. And I have played 2, 3, 4, 5, now 6 Blood Dragon, which we're not going to count as a full game, New Dawn, and Far Cry Primal. So I'm pretty familiar with this franchise, other than the first game. And yeah, I like this franchise a lot. It's made by Ubisoft. It is a first person shooter kind of game, open world. And yeah, I mean, let's get started. Let's talk about gameplay. If you played Far Cry 5, this is pretty similar gameplay wise. I mean, most Far Cry's have been really similar since Far Cry 3, other than Primal because that was a whole separate thing. But it does have little changes. Let's start off with the gunplay. The enemies are a little bit more bullet spongy, so unless you headshot them. So I mean, this game is basically you just want to go for headshots only. I thought it was fine. There are times when it's really annoying when I'm shooting people because in other Far Cry's it wasn't that bullet spongy like this game is. Uh, but yeah, I mean that's the gunplay. The gunplay is what you'd expect. I mean, it's solid. It's nothing special, and it's basically just headshot the game. Other things, this game is an open world game, as most Ubisoft games are, and it's pretty formulaic. So, we have the tutorial section, like we normally do in a Ubisoft game. It's tutorial island. We take over the island, and then we have the choices of the three separate areas, and then they all have their own arcs, kind of similar to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And then we take those over one at a time, and then when they're all taking over, it leads us into the final boss. And so, it's formulaic, you know, like other games, other Ubisoft games, and let's talk about the open world itself, where some things to do. If you play Far Cry 5, it's basically the same. It's just take over outposts, take over checkpoints. There's some races. We got collectible chests. Uh, that's really it. I mean, the world exists just for all that. We have some treasure hunts. The whole open world's a checklist. Which, if you like that, then you'll like this. Like, if you like the Far Cry 5, you'll like this. Unless you're sick of it, because it's been the same for a while. But is what you'd expect. There's no towers. It's similar to Far Cry 5. You discover the map naturally. I really like that in Far Cry 5. I like it still here. It's the same. I mean, the new things are Supremos and Resolvers. Those are like special weapons. I didn't use them at all. I thought they kind of sucked. The crafting in this game sucks. They kind of went back and regressed. There's no skill tree at all in this game. Everything's unlocked from the very beginning. I didn't really like that. Hunting's kind of useless in this game. You know, I don't really have a lot of positive stuff to say. The driving feels clunky. Uh, it's just an open world Far Cry. You know, I mean, some positives. You don't get constantly attacked like you did in Far Cry 5. In Far Cry 5, it was like bang, 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 bang. For this, it wasn't like that for me. Of course, I didn't really drive around a lot. I kind of airdropped everywhere. But the times I did drive, enemies would drive past me and they wouldn't attack me, and that was really cool. So I feel like it's taking a step in a positive direction there from Far Cry 5. But like gunplay wise, I feel like it's a step down because it's bullet spongy and it's basically headshot the game, and the crafting and is worse. I don't remember if the crafting was like that in Far Cry 5. I don't think it was. I honestly don't remember anything about New Dawn. But um, so I the gameplay switch you expect is more Far Cry. That's literally exactly what it is. Uh, I feel like this game, compared to Far Cry 5, lacks a lot of side quests. There's some, but I find them to be boring and uninterested, and I still feel like I think Ubisoft is some of the most cringiest writers out there. I don't think they're very good at writing. Like, all this stuff is just cringy. Side quest wise, we'll talk about the main story when we get there. I'm talking specifically about the little side quests there are in this game. I remember specific Far Cry 5 side quests, but this game I feel they're really lame. The sound, the guns sound good. I mean, it sounds good. It's not stellar. Nothing stands out. I don't have anything positive to say. It's just solid. The graphics I think were okay. Uh, it ran pretty smooth. I played on Series X. I've obviously played a while after launch, so I don't know if it was buggier on launch, but I didn't experience any bugs or crashes. Uh, but that's the game. We can talk about the story. I think the story had some positive regression back to a voice protagonist, and what I mean by that in Far Cry 5, I really, really hated how it was a silent protagonist. This game fix that. You're talking again, and you have a personality. You're not just Rook, and I really like that. Let's start with the story itself. The main villain. Uh, do I want to do spoilers? I'll do spoilers. Or I'll start off with no spoilers. No spoilers right now. The main villain is Anton Castillo, and you have sub villains for each region, like the other games, like Far Cry 5. Uh, you don't really see him. It's similar to Far Cry 5. I think it suffers less of that because you see him more at the end. You didn't really see Joseph at all in Far Cry 5. In this game, you don't really see a lot of Anton. But the thing about Anton is when he does appear, he is really good. I like the actor Juan Carlo Esposito, I think his name is. He's a good actor. He was basically all the marketing. But, I mean, it suffers from the same thing Far Cry 5 suffered as. You barely see him, but when he does appear, he's good. And, I mean, that's a contrast to New Dawn. I mean, those villains were barely in the game. Mickey and Rourke, I think their name was. But when they appeared, they were bad. Oh, I hated those villains. But Anton doesn't suffer from that. When he appears, he's good. He's intimidating. And, yeah. But I just hate that Ubisoft doesn't let him appear more. Because truly, what is the point of a good villain if they don't get screen time? You got this big actor. You don't give him anything to do. So, we'll talk about more about his implications while I get into spoilers. But yeah, we have the three sub-villains. We have his nephew. We have Maria, who's like propaganda. And then we have McKay and then a general lady. And none of them really stuck out. They're just kind of there to have a final boss fight at the end of each area, kind of. And yeah, and so each area has a different story. You're trying to recruit the people in the region to get you to help fight against Anton in the end. I think these stories were okay, kind of similar to Valhalla. I think these stories were okay, but we don't have enough time to get to know them. Like, we don't stay with these characters the whole game, and so we're just kind of with them. We do their quest, and then it's weird how you set the quests. There's some downtime with them, but not a lot. And so, because you never really get time to develop or care about these characters, it's like I don't care about these characters, so it kind of makes me disconnect from the story in those regions. And yeah, but I don't like that design. I want to fight the main villain from the beginning. I want to stay with people. I don't like small arcs where you're with people who you'll never see again. Like, if I finish this region, why don't they help me take the other region? Why do they only care about the villain in this region? And I don't like it. There's like one choice in the game, and I was like, ooh, this is really interesting. But it turns out it literally didn't matter at all. So I guess you could say with the limited choices, it sucked. Alright, I'm gonna switch to spoilers now. So the ending. Spoiler. The ending, I didn't really like it. He shot his son. He killed himself. Kind of sad. But okay. It felt anticlimactic, which is how I'm trying to convey it. It's just anticlimactic. You don't even get the satisfaction of killing him. You go through the 30 hours of gameplay. You get to him, you kill him. I think the invasion at the end of the game was really good, but you know, it just felt so unsatisfying. Which I've read that, they're trying to make it seem like that's how it is whenever you take out a dictator. It's unsatisfying, there's always more. But it's I just didn't really like it. Uh, and like I said, he barely appears. He was a villain. I wish he appeared more. He had a really interesting backstory that they didn't really go into. It's like his father was president, and then he got killed, and then that sounds really interesting to see here. It would have been really interesting to hear how Anton tackled with that. He was the same age as Diego, but they they just kind of briefly touched on it. They never went in depth about it, which I think is a disservice. I would have loved to hear more about it and love to know more about it. And so this game for me, it's it's just a lot of missed opportunities, Like, I feel like the gameplay was a step back, lack of skill tree. Uh, uh, the open world's a lot of copy and paste. I feel like the story, you don't. There are some emotional moments, but you don't really get a chance to know the characters. You don't get a chance to care about those sub-villains. And I just feel like it was just a missed opportunity. A lot of it, you had this good actor, you didn't really use them, and I'd say this game is subpar because of all of these factors contributing with each other. And so I would recommend this game. If you like the other Far Cry games, you'll like this, because it's literally more of the same. I mean, I think it has a lot of the same issues Far Cry 5 had. Some different, like, there's a voice protagonist now, thank God. But I mean, the biggest thing is you don't see the villain enough. And so yeah, I mean, if you like Far Cry 5, you like this. If you didn't, just avoid this. And I think that's probably all I have to say about this game. It's what you expect it to be. And yeah, thank you for your time. That's my opinion on the game.